My life has been just that, fighting for the people of the Virgin Islands. And I will continue to fight for them to the last breath, because I love the Virgin Islands. I love it so much that I believe and strongly in the people that makes us what we are. I grew up in the days when what we had, we shared. We had national pride. I would like to see that we return it to those days when we all can be vested in who we are. So yes, I will fight for the people. Thank you.
And candidate Milliner, Emanuel.
I will march wherever I have to. I will march with whomever I have to. When I look in the mirror, I have to like the person that looks back at me. I have to respect that person. And the way for me to do that is doing everything that I possibly can to make sure that these islands and the people of these islands are moving forward. If I wasn't willing and able, I would never have run. I would never have. I think one of the challenges we have in the territory is, I was born in New York. I moved here when I was 7 years old. My parents are from the Virgin Islands, born and bred. My father's family is from Jos Van Dijks. But I think here in the Virgin Islands, one of the things, as Ms. Sadler was saying, national pride, we have forgotten who we are. We have forgotten what a rich history we have. And we need to lock arms. And if it means marching into hell, marching to the gates and beating back the three-headed dog, then that's what we are going to do in order to take back the Virgin Islands to where it needs to be and to where it needs to go.
Thank you very much. What we're going to do right now, we're going to crank it up a little bit. We're going to move a little faster. Everyone is going to get an independent question, so we don't have to get locked in on one subject. There's so many things happening. Our next question will be from former Senator Liebert to Mr. Bernier. Okay, we got Senator Davis.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. You know, this morning I asked this similar question. There are so many issues in the Virgin Islands that it's very difficult at times to isolate one. But there's always one that needs more attention than the others. And this question can be answered by anyone. I haven't had the opportunity to look at too many of the platforms, but I know there are similarities in issues with all the platforms. The biggest, what in your opinion is the most urgent problem confronting the Virgin Islands? Anyone who wants to take it on.
The most urgent problem, Ken Bernier,
And let me add a caveat to that.
Please.
The most urgent problem confronting the Virgin Islands that require urgent assistance from the federal government.
Well, definitely, Senator David, has to be energy. And it's so sad that in 2006, the Public Finance Authority offered that present administration $54 million at 4% to upgrade the equipment, and that was turned down. The Public Finance Authority had $175 million in reserve, and Finance had $350 million in CDs. You see, we missed the boat with the politics, and that's what's lacking in the Virgin Islands. There are three stems: politics, social, and economics. We missed the economic because the politics and the social has overrun this territory. Until you get back on the principle of humanity and doing the right thing for the people, you can solve your problem. But I have the model for you. There is a MOU that's still sitting at Government House where Interior Secretary and the Assistant Secretary, Ken Salsa and Anthony Boboda, could consider offering in an interim $10 million out of the Interior Fund over 10 years. We call it as a bond anticipation note. And that will give the WAPA 2 years, because we can subsidize this and go to Congress, Grassley and the Congress lady need to step up and do what's necessary because this is a state of emergency. That's the omnibus bill that was extended in 2001, giving the governor the authority to use whatever funds he needs. This is a man-made discussion of destruction, and until we get people that care about the people, this matter will not be addressed. This horrendous situation is beyond mankind. It's poor that our leadership has not taken the reign and protect the people of the Virgin Islands. Given that opportunity, I will make sure that John Hess, at the right time, come to the table with what's best for the people, because there are investors that are capable of acquiring that property and doing what's right for the people.
Thank you very much.
I would concur with Mr. Bernier. It is energy. I don't know why we missed that big boat down there and let WAPA get into this situation, because this is a man-made disaster that's going to hit us. We just got a 19% increase in the LEAC fees, which equates to about $40 per month on each and every one's light bill. My investigation leads to liquid natural gas. It's available, it's cheap, it's clean. It can be gotten from Trinidad and Tobago, as close as Trinidad and Tobago. There's a terminal in Puerto Rico. It can be stored both underground or above ground. And I think that if we are going to save ourselves in this place, we have to get cracking on getting liquid natural gas here as soon as we can. Borrow whatever money is needed, bond issues for that purpose, because at the present trend, we talk about erosion of the economy with businesses failing. Whenever the LEA goes up, the business fail, workers go on unemployment, fewer taxes are being paid. We are looking, folks, at a real disaster, man-made. And I suggest, if I'm elected, I am willing to go down that path to get liquid natural gas here in this territory to save us all. It is a real man-made catastrophe that's heading our way.
Okay. Next question. We'll ask. We're trying to move on. We're going to ask Senator Liebert.
You say you want to heat it up, right? So let's heat it up.
Got to pump it up.
All right. Controversial issue, audit. The legislature just had an audit, and I can add that I've seen many audits. And sometimes you get in trouble for implementing audits, because audits is a tool that you use to make your product better or to help you make it better. But the controversy has been where there's a public who believes that something is being hidden. Nobody wants to say exactly what's in there. And I know, as a former president, each member of the legislature have knowledge of it. My question to you, the public is crying for information. Are you willing to tell them what happens if an audit comes during your tenure? Are you willing to say, plain out, be real, that this is the audit, this is what happened in it, you made a mistake or you need to correct it, but just be real and tell the public, be what they call transparent. Are you ready for that?
Okay,
that's everybody.
Okay, let's start at this end with candidate Milliner Emanuel.
Yes. Why? Because we are here to serve the public. They are our employers. The people of the Virgin Islands are our employers. We are their employees. There should be nothing that happens that they don't know about. If an audit comes out and there's discrepancies in the audit, or if there's something that's showing that there was money spent or monies magically disappeared, or monies ended up in other people's bank accounts, or wherever the money went, follow the money, get the money back. If people need to be prosecuted, prosecute. If people need to go to jail, go to jail. Whatever needs to be done, because we can no longer tolerate this level of utter disrespect, dishonesty to the people of the Virgin Islands. Let the chips fall where they may. Let it go as far up the chain as it needs to, and take whoever has to go to jail, let them go. They have lovely red and orange jumpsuits. Make yourself comfortable with wearing one.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gums?
Yes, transparency is a must. People deserve no less. People entrust their elected leaders with the responsibility of doing the right thing by them, by doing the right thing by these islands. And when there's a question as to if the right thing is being done, then the people need to see exactly what was behind what was being done, what happened, and who is responsible for making these decisions. It's clear to me, and it should be clear to everyone in this community, that people need to know. They deserve to know. They deserve to know where their hard-earned taxpayers' dollars are going, because the legislature, as the first branch of government, is entrusted with the purse strings of this community. And if you're entrusted with the purse strings of the community, then you have to be the person to respond to questions as to why this was done or why this was not done. And you have to give account, because it's the people's money, and they expect no less. I don't see why this problem has been bubbling so long within the legislature, and I believe you're right, Senator Leiber, that people do know, senators do know, and they're responsible for coming out and telling people exactly what is going on. This silence is very concerning, and it should be concerning to everyone in this community, because with the silence of all the legislators, it leads us to believe that something is not being done wrong by one legislator, it's being done by all, because by all of them being silent, they're like they're in some kind of conspiracy. So that concerns me. So if they decide to elect me, I believe that our people deserve better, and our people will get better. And I will let the information flow freely. And if something is done wrong, then we need to correct it and let the people know that it's being corrected and what happened to why it went astray and what we're going to do to ensure it doesn't happen again.
Okay. Thank you very much. In this round, we'll take two more answers from candidate Sadler and candidate Olive. Sadler?
Well, as an employee of the VI Inspector General, I must agree with the question. I strongly believe that transparency is a must in government, in all agencies, not just in the legislature, in all form of government. We must know what is going on. We must open our books. We have to know how much money we have, and I have a problem with that right now. So I want to say that it is something once, and if elected by the people of the Virgin Islands, I will put my teeth in that, because I honestly believe that it is our money and we have to protect it, and fraud and corruption must come to an end. Thank you very much.
All right, and Mr. Olive, where you just get all this information from leaking?
I was waiting patiently to answer this question. Because if you're a leader, you must lead by example. And exposure to all the criminal activity is taking place must be exposed. That's why we need a strong Inspector General office. We need an independent Inspector General office where that Inspector General can take cases to the United States Attorney's Office for prosecution and have arresting powers when it comes to wrongdoing in any government agency. Just recently, the Inspector General was at the budget hearing, and he told the legislators that there's some $37 million in misuse fund throughout this government. Title 3, Section 1203 G and H has to be amended, where it will give the Inspector General the ability to take cases to the United States Attorney's Office for prosecution. Right now, only the Inspector General can take cases down to the Attorney General when he finds wrongdoing. And that is one of our biggest problems in this territory. We continue to try to cover up the wrong that is being done in this place, and that's why we're in the financial problem that we're in right now. And if we have an independent Inspector General office where he can take and have prosecution, arresting, and taking cases to the proper authority, we will see a lot of changes around here. And like Ms. Milliner said, we're going to see a lot of jumpsuits, orange jumpsuits with stripe and numbers in the back, with individuals with chains and shackles on their legs and arms going to the proper places.
Thank you very much. There's so many issues, from the high costs of living, health insurance, GRS, the retired people, education, and what we're going to do about our children that drop out of school early and we don't have a plan, but we lock them up. We'll be back with those discussion and more. We got to remind you, this is VI Decision 2012. Live radio, live streaming on WSTA 1340 AM radio. We're also online at focusvi.com and lucky13wsta.com. It's all brought to you by Innovative, Color Max, Furniture Plus, IQ Events, T's Restaurant, MDM Inc., Choice Wireless, John's Auto Center, Global Training Enterprises, and Jimmy and Son. We want to thank those great sponsors for making it possible. We're here, and we turn it back over to our panelists for the next question to candidate Justin Harrigan. Doc?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Mr. Harrigan, you see finances or the area of our dire straits as one, if not the most important issue? Yes? No?
Well, he said earlier that energy was the most important issue.
No,
but-
I'm asking if you see
Okay.
finances is. No, so you're saying energy is.
Yes.
All right, very well. Now, given the notion that it is, what do you see as a possible solution and the operative and optimum solution for relieving this particular situation? Because it's going to escalate. It will not get any better. It will get worse unless we do something. What do you see as an immediate solution to the problem?
Well, in my platform, I spoke about the revision of the EDA program. In my discussions, I was told that most of those companies, all the companies coming into the territory, once they qualify for EDA benefits, they're given 100% of the gross receipt tax, 95% I think is the income tax, and about 85% of land or property tax. My suggestion is that they get, the law is structured in such a way that once they qualify, they all qualify for those exemptions, 100%, 95%, 85%. My recommendation would be to give the operators of this program at the EDA the flexibility to go to the table with those individuals that are coming to the territory and wanting to set up business here, that they can make a decision as to how much exemption, the percentage of exemption that they're going to get. Many of the companies are here. This is a process that we have to do going forward. It's not going to affect any companies that are right now here established in the territory, unless when they renew after a 10-year exemption of the program. But we need to change that formula so that more monies can come into the territory that will increase the availability of funding, that we can do what needs to be done here in the territory. Like I said, liquid natural gas is going to cost money. We don't want to impose more taxes on the residents. They can't take any more as far as I'm concerned. But we can look at other measures, such as the EDA program, restructure it, and use that as a means of bringing more revenues to this territory, and not just from the wages or taxes paid by the employees of those companies, but get those companies to pay a little bit more into the treasury, bring in more money so that we can do what needs to be done here in the territory.
Thank you. We will pose that same question to Mr. Gums.
Again, we have to look forward to private and government cooperations. Right now, there's like 3 companies interested in purchasing the refinery on St. Croix. We have to work with these private companies that are interested in coming into our territory and give our people some sort of relief for these high energy costs. These companies could do this, but we have to make sure that we make the best deal on behalf of our people. What has been lacking lately is that when companies come in here, these big conglomerates, they receive the better benefit from the negotiations than the people of the Virgin Islands. I have been quite surprised at the fact that when I, as a labor leader or former labor leader, would sit down with the government to do wages and benefits on our contracts, how firm the government is to ensuring that we have limits on what we receive. However, when I look at the contracts of like Diageo and other companies here in the CDC benefits, that they are so overwhelmingly in favor of the companies. And I'm not saying this to be negative, because I am pro-business, but I believe it has to be where we give something to the private sector, to these people are deciding to come and enter into our community to do business, but something is returned favorably to the people on their behalf. That is what's been lacking. But with private investment, with new monies coming into the territory, I believe that the energy costs could be dropped. I believe that looking forward to the future, when you have wind energy, we have hydro energy with the seawater, when we are able to have desalination in order to sell water down island to other places, that we could make WAPA very profitable and we could reduce the cost to the people in this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bernier, we're hearing a lot of things from candidates. Solution, the question was about our energy. What can be done today? And we talk a little bit, a lot about big business, the Diageos, the Cruise and Rum. What about the small businesses that are suffering? How do we put it all together where we save our small businesses or keep them competitive, but we grow the economy? Well, what's your take on that?
Peter, you have 2 points there. That's why you need a comprehensive economic and sustainable plan. The Chamber of Commerce has not, still kicking the can down the road. I've been challenging them to address the administration. When it comes to small business, the EDA last week, 2 months ago, submit a policy where they can lower the rates for our existing SBA lenders from 5% to maybe 3%. The governor vetoed that. But the following week, they enjoyed themselves borrowing $130 million at a good rate. I mean, if you enjoy the rates for yourself, what about the little business? And that's the problem we have here. We have special interests. The problem we have with $130 million we borrowed, no one borrowed 2014 out of working capital. It's unheard of. So their financial advisor have to talk to me about that. Because no one take and borrow $130 million and set aside 30 to 25 million for 2014 budget. Unheard of. Working capital is for your immediate needs. So you have a government that actually putting away resources for future use. And that's where we have this problem with the Mellon Bank. And this is the problem where all these funds are sitting in New York that should be invested here to help strengthen the banking position here. And that's why First Bank and Banco Popular has to grow up and start releasing funds to our small businesses, because our president, through the Federal Reserve, give them $1 billion at 0% interest to invest money here. That's why your banking board. Our problem, we don't have people in the position to know what's going on to protect our people. In respect to the solar situation, I want to let you know, I was a company that offered to this government 12 cents per kilowatt in 2011 to put in 40 to 50 megs, $185 million invested by outside. This government turned me down because I didn't feed them, so they can't feed me. I said, you only feed hog, and right now you guys are eating your own litter. That's the leadership you have in this government, and that's what needs to change.
Time. Thank you. Senator Davis, you got the next question.
Oh, my goodness. When we talk about leadership, are we talking about the administration or the legislature?
We're talking about both, because both are behaving in the same manner.
All right, sir. Well, one of the candidates mentioned something that perked my interest, and I think it was candidate Sadler. And she said she's working on a plan in where the government can get Hovensa by eminent domain.
Yes, I did say that.
I want to know how that's going to be done, one, and what will it cost the government to get it for eminent domain?
Okay.
A nickel or a dime?
Well, nothing in life is free, but the plan is this way. It can be done for eminent domain. Eminent domain means that we take it for the market value, as you know that. And in 3 to 5 years ago, there was a case in California, Connecticut, where a village in Connecticut sued a company that was in Connecticut for years for their property. And they made the landmark for this, where the Supreme Court ruled that because it was in the vested interest of the people, they can take it. We can take Hovensa, and it's time that we do so. We can go after it. And you know why we could get it? And it won't cost us who is broke as a people so much money? Because Hovenza owes $750 million in cleanup. That is one of the reasons I believe they left. They are now supposedly building a new plant in Dominican Republic. It is my belief that that plant is ready to open someday soon if it isn't open already. We need to go after them for that cleanup money. We are, at the same time, we need to find, I was saying in my plan originally when I first exposed the plan, I was saying that we should lease it, but now I'm saying sell it, because we as a government cannot maintain to keep it. So we must sell it, and at the same time we are trying to get it, we need to find a buyer. I'm running out of time, so come back please with me at the question.
Well, let me tell you, you got a fight on your hands.
It is a fight, but we have to come out the box and want to fight. We have to be willing to fight.
And I don't believe you're going to find a fighter in your class willing to punch it out with you.
Well, I think there will be a lot of people who are willing to take that fight if we go for it, if we get the right leaders.
We'll come back to that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Olive, on the same question? You could answer that, Senator.
Respond to that if you want to.
Well,
you could pass if you want to, you know.
excuse me?
You could pass also, you don't have to respond to it.
Well, I would pass on that question because with her, you know, her platform and her information, she would be the one to more, you know,
Thank you.
knowledgeably know about it.
Can we refer to
Yeah, I think.
put your name on the record?
Ken Bernier. I think Ms. Sadler has an option, and it could be done by eminent domain. Hovenza may be worth about $2 billion. I actually was in the Public Finance Authority. We give them $400 million worth of private activity bonds. They took advantage of our tax situation. And I'm sad that our administration, in 2007, former Senator Baptiste opened up legislation that we should have renegotiated with Hovenza. The administration refused to engage, and that's why this Pelinky bird behavior has continued, because Hovenza now has enjoyed our tax break. Smokey Fred was former Senator Correct, and the $1.2 billion carried forward. They actually split it up between Hess and PDVSA, which tax-wise is illegal. Again, there's a lot of outstanding issues. I'm not even talking about under the ground, but let me share with you the future of Hovenza. PetroChina is willing to pay $4 billion because they're buying oil from Chavez at $20 a barrel and use that as a mean of cleaning that up and sending it to China from St. Croix. At the same time, our former governor, Roy Lester Snyder, was willing to bring tourism from China. There's a model that should have been done in 2006. A 400-room Marriott Hotel, a Leon Hess Convention Center, and a Tim Duncan Sports Center, and a 75-room factory outlet stores. That was the model on Betty Hole property. That's how that model came about, the 600 acres, and the Port Authority would have been able to assist with this type of infrastructure to create jobs. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the Commerce Department is willing to actually use that airport tax-free and bring people in. At the same time, Brazil has LNG. They can also consider doing LNG from Brazil. Jennifer Nugent-Hill, Caribbean Latin American contact, she can work on that side from tourism. So what we're saying is we have an abundance of opportunity. Our problem is we don't have the direction and the leadership.
Time?
Just a follow-up, Mr. Chair. I just wonder, private activity bonds that were given to Hess had to pay them back, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
It's actually, they're getting it at a lower rate to
okay,
meet
good,
their
yeah.
infrastructure needs.
Next question, Senator Liebert.
I want to go to education now, because I think everyone speaks about education at some point or the other. And what happens is that we want to look at the product of our students. You know, we have a lot of students who've dropped out of school. My question to you all would be, what it is you're going to do to address that problem, number one, and what do you see that needs to be done that's not happening now in the educational system, you know, because that you feel will make it better for our youngsters here?
Thank you. Let's, Mr. Harrigan.
Yes, I would refer to my platform where I said I would introduce legislation, if elected, to have the commissioner hired by the Board of Education on a 5-year contract. That person coming in would have 3 years to make some kind of positive action within the school system. At that time, they would review the person's performance. If it's not satisfactory, they wouldn't get the other 2 years. They would know that coming in. I think we need to depoliticize that particular position because it seems to be hampering the person at the head. Secondly, I would try and get, it worked for me when I was a young boy, a truant officer system back in place. And I'm not talking about guns and things like that. We're talking about an individual that's going to drive the streets, cover the streets, and find these individuals who are dropping out from school and get them back in school, providing they're under the age of which they should be in school. That worked for me. It was something that I quit school. That individual came to my mother's home and he said, this guy has to come back to the classroom. I reluctantly went back, and I could say for sure that that person interceded in my life had made a difference for me. And I think it worked then, it can work again. In my platform, also under education, I speak about technical school, trade schools, electricity, plumbing, masonry. I have a cousin that went to the States and got certified in plumbing and electricity. He was working for Hess until they closed. He learned welding, top-class welding at the Curriculum Center, and was a certified welder. He's now working somewhere in Mississippi or Alabama, I think it is, as a welder. And he learned that skill here in the territory. So if we are serious about our youth, then we need to push to get those programs in place. And I'm willing to do that once elected. It is in my platform, and I will do what I put on the platform if elected.
Thank you very much. Candidate Milliner Emanuel.
Well, what I see for education is a restructuring of it, basically where the money is actually filtering down to the classrooms and the money is going into providing the tools that are needed for the teachers to be able to teach the children. One of the things I think we've lost when I was growing up here, we had reading teachers. And it said, there are studies done, and I know Arizona uses this, K through 3rd grade, our children are learning to read. From 4th grade on, they're reading to learn. By 3rd grade, if a child cannot read, they know how many prisons to build because they know that child will drop out and will be a product and a guest of the state. So one of the things we need to do is we need to put those reading teachers back in to make sure our children are learning to read between kindergarten and 3rd grade. Also, I believe we have a policy here in the Virgin Islands where a child cannot be held back until the 4th grade. So if a child does not know how to read in 1st grade, and you keep pushing that child through to 2nd and 3rd, when the child gets to 4th grade, that child is frustrated now. It doesn't know how to read. The parent did not give permission to hold the child back because they don't want that stigma on them, and therefore we end up just making the problem worse. So we have to put those reading professionals back in the schools where they will help children learn to read, and also make it so that the monies that goes for education is not on the top, but is getting into the classrooms where it's going to do the most good.
Thank you very much. We're going to ask Candidate Gums and Alif to answer that question, then we'll have another question. Go ahead, Candidate Gums.
We must gain the interest of our children when we're trying to teach them. We have to institute programs where the children are now involved, they show an interest, they're showing a willingness to absorb, to learn. We have programs like the Law and You that was instituted by Officer Chesterfield. A lot of kids like that program. They're interested. If you find what interests a child, then you could bring them into learning other things that they might not have that interest, but once they see the concern that you have for trying to reach them, they'll be willing to work with you. That is so important that we also have mentorship. While there is a mentorship in the schools to a degree, we need to broaden it. We need to get, especially for our young males, we need good role models, good male role models to go out there and to work with them both helping them in learning and also with extracurricular activities that will build the trust, the bond, that will improve the child's willingness to come and to learn and to participate in school activities. It's so important, especially after school programs. We have to pull our kids into school as much as possible to keep them off the streets, because when they're in the streets, that's when they get these difficulties, they run into problems, they have gangs, they have all these things waiting for them outside of the school arena. But once we could keep them in school, keep them interested, then they wouldn't be damaging these schools, because we have the problem with the destruction of schools by some of them or by the children that attend these schools. So we must let them know that the school is like their own little temple for learning and development, so they could protect the school, they could learn in the school, and they could move forward to be productive citizens in this community.
Thank you very much. Candidate will leave. The education budget is more directed towards personnel. With that budget, how would you've heard a lot of candidates talk about implementing different programs and stuff. How do you do it without money? And what's your education platform?
Well, let's face it, education budget is hundreds of millions of dollars. At least 80 to 90% goes to salaries. But we're sending a lot of federal monies back without using these monies. So there has to be a problem within the education structure, within the administration, that we are sending back these millions of dollars that we vitally need for education. So we have to look at what is the problem and why we are sending home or sending back all of this money to the federal government without being, this money being used. My take on education is that the curriculum needs to be restructured. Vocational education needs to be taught from the grade school to high school. Having kids or children in the younger age being involved in these vocational classes will broaden their mind as to what they want to do in the future. Right now, we have an agriculture program in UVI, but we don't teach agriculture in the classrooms within the Virgin Islands from kindergarten to high school. So these are the things we need to go and look back into, bringing back vocational education from elementary school to high school, so that the children who are in there will have an idea as to what they want to do when they reach 12th grade. I want to be a mechanic. I want to be a carpenter. I want to be a plumber. I want to be something. In school, when I was there, we had we had cooking, we had sewing, we had all of these things. All of these things are gone. We need to bring back vocational education and bring it back again from the elementary straight to the high school level.
Thank you very much. We got to let you know, time is just moving. Our next question will be from panelists Dr. Richardson.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have heard a lot about what should be done, what can be done. We've heard a lot about the positions of which particular issue is most important. Human issue is the most important, in my opinion. And when we talk about, when I've said before, I ask, with what spurs do you prick the sides of your intent? It has to be our people's needs. One of the things that you will come to face with is something that you may say no initially, but I warn you. When I say warn you, I'm saying to you, be careful of your response, because depend upon your response, the truth may not be in you, and you deceive yourself and subsequently other people. Let me get to the question. The question is, at what price? What is your price? It is said, there is no man born who hath not his price. The question is, what is your price?
Candidate Sadler, what's your price?
Wow, he skipped me on everything else but this. Woo. To be honest, I don't know what my price is because I never set a price for anything. So I guess I'll have to cross the bridge when it comes. But as you said, every man has a price, and I pray to God that my price is higher than anybody could pay because I don't want to be corrupted.
Thank you very much. Candidate Justin Harrigan,
What is my price?
what's your price?
30 twice.
My price is my time that I'm willing to expend on trying to resolve the problems in this territory and solve the people to the best of my ability. That is my price.
Candidate Bernier, what's your price?
For who the bell tolled, it told of thee. And I think that's a universal question in human behavior. And that's why I said, in time, and time waits for no man. So the future is at hand, and I will grab it at no cost.
Mr. Olive,
Definitely.
what's your price? Is it a car? No, go ahead.
Let me be straightforward with you guys. I have no price. My price is called FBI 777-3367. That's the FBI number. That's my price. Okay? So nobody is going to come to me with no envelope, or nobody is going to call me and tell me, listen, let's meet me down the street. So let it be known right now. That's my price. Rappoon Hill is the office. The name is FBI, and 777-3367 is the number. That's my price.
All right, Candidate Olive. Candidate Gums.
My price is blood, and I've paid that price for this community by serving this community and by being injured in the service of this community. I feel that there's no higher price that you could pay than when you're willing to serve this community and put your life on the line for doing same. So I have did that, I have shed blood, and I've paid that price.
Candidate Milliner Emanuel.
I have no price. There is no amount of money from the time man has known money to the time man will no longer use money that will be enough money for me to ever wear orange unless I choose to.
Good clarification.
I am totally serious about that. I have visited prisons for people who are in jail, and just the clang of that gate behind you is enough to tell you, oh, no, 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 no. So there is no price, and I have to be able to look at the person in the mirror and have that individual look back at me and know that when I rest my head down at night, I know I have done the right thing by everyone, period.
Thank you very much for your answers. One of the things when we talk about price for the citizens of the Virgin Islands, legislators, late night, maybe it's after hours, the price goes up. You know, but I think it's a great question. The time is coming where we'll have to give you, in a minute, give all the candidates a 3-minute chance to again present yourself to our listening audience and viewing audience. But we turn this question over to former Senator Liston Davis.
Thank you once again, Mr. Moderator. If this was a debate, I can debate quite a few of the answers that were given here today, but it's not a debate. It's a forum. But one of the questions I want to ask, probably of all the 50 states in America, and probably some of the territories, the governors of the Virgin Islands have excessive power. For example, I believe that we really need to restructure some of the laws, or powers, I should say, that have been granted to our governors. Not in particular this one, but governors in general. For example, you have our governors have been chairman of boards in which they appoint the members of the board. Do you see that as a serious conflict? And do you see the need to restructure some of the powers given to our governors? Anyone?
Okay. Before we answer, because we're moving on time, 1 minute answer for everyone. Ms. Sadler, you could begin.
Good, thank you. I do see it as a conflict of interest, and I see it more so because right now all of our boards seem to answer particularly to the governor, and that takes away the fairness that comes with them doing their job. Right now, WAPA is supposed to be regulated by the PSC, and the PSC is appointed mainly by the governor. And every time there's an increase, I wonder if the PFC fell asleep, because they're granting WAPA the right to give us more with LEAC, more and more, but there's no regulation. And then we have other boards other than the WAPA board. For instance, the PFA. That is a board that I would like to see do not have no alliance with any governor because of the role that they have. And so I definitely feel that we need to revamp that. Thank you.
All right. Candidate Olive.
Thank you. I would say yes, there is a conflict, and there's a major conflict. And like Ms. Sadler just mentioned, the PFA. How can a governor sit in, be the chairman of the PFA, when the same PFA was the one that gave him the money to refurbish his house? You see, that's the conflict that we're sitting and facing in this territory. The broadband issue, the same thing. How can the governor of the Virgin Islands sit as the chairman of a private entity like the broadband and say that he can, have an open mind as to what to do in these areas? It's a total conflict of interest, and these things need to be revisited, and these things need to change, because one man having the power to control everything around this territory is a very, very dangerous thing. And that's why these islands are the way they are today.
Thank you. Candidate Gums.
Most definitely, this is a situation that we have to revisit. My concern is a lot of boards are not even fully staffed. There's a lot of boards that could barely receive their quorums. These are things that hinder the proper operation of the government. So I do believe that we need to revisit certain things. We also have people that work on many different boards. And I don't feel that we should have one person on 5 and 6 boards. I think there's enough people in this community that we could get people involved in. So I believe that's the thing that we need to sit down and review as to who is going to be on these boards and how we're going to get the pool of individuals to determine who would sit on them. Because it's a very unique situation we have here where the governor, again, controls most of what's going on. And I feel that this kind of holding on to everything is something we need to break down and kind of spread out so we could have a fair dealing with it.
Thank you very much. Candidate Milliner, Emanuel.
Well, I agree with what has been said previously. I would also take it a little further. I would take the onus off of the governor for signing people's personnel, NOPAs. Take that off of the governor. I would also because when someone is being hired, the governor does not need to be involved in that process. We have a division of personnel for that. Also, with regards to signing of contracts, take that onus off of the governor. There's nothing in our code that says the governor has to sign any contract. We have a Department of Property and Procurement for that, and we have a commissioner who runs that division. They should be able to make those decisions. There's no reason to have all of this under the control of one individual, because when you have too much power, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Thank you very much. Candidate Justin Harrigan.
Yes, I'm in agreement. I think the governor has too much power, and it's not just the sitting governor, but that's the structure of government. Therefore, if I'm elected, it's something I can look at and change. With all those boards, with all of his appointments, we cannot get good representation out here. And as Mr. Olive said, or Mr. Gums, that is one of the problems that we have, where we are today. In addition to looking at the reform, restructuring of the boards, I would bring in place an ethics commission that's going to oversee all of government activities, because we have just a free reign of everything. And this is like the wild, wild west. You do as you see fit, and somebody will find out about it later when I'm gone. We need to have a watchdog that's on the job 24/7. And I would look towards an ethics commission to do this job. And I will, if elected, look at restructuring the way boards are formed and who should be, how many should be appointed by the governor.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bernier?
Of course, everyone knows this existing administration is somewhat soaring with these boards, and that's what the problem is. And it's sad because there is a Michael Porter model where these boards, if run properly, can actually in 120 days restructure the debt of this community, pay the retro because the funds are there, actually increase the output for Port Authority, increase the output of WICO, increase the output at the university. The problem we have is actually implementation. That's the problem we have. We don't have anyone that knows how to implement with innovation to get what's necessary for the people of the Virgin Islands. That's what I want to focus on, getting the jobs and getting our people off the street and get them re-employed. Yes, the board, but we still need people on board that understand what innovation and creativity is all about.
Okay, thank you very much. Last question before we give you a chance to wrap it up. Senator Liber.
Thank you, Peter. This question is about GRS. GRS, as you know, has been like a lifeline for many of our residents. A matter of fact, many folks who own a home owe it to GRS. They're given an opportunity to do so. But GRS is in trouble. And my question to you is, how are you going to look to address it? Because, you know, the laws that were in place, 30-year early retirement, sometimes some of those things, and some of us who saw, we also part of the problem that created some of that. So the reality is, now that you've seen both sides of it, I want you to tell us how you're going to look at GRS so that it remains the viable entity for years to come for yourselves and others to come, because GRS needs some help now.
Okay, this is a 1-minute answering segment. Candidate or leave. We start with you.
Okay, here we go again. Well, first of all, GRS has a lot of problems. We have to get rid of the board that is sitting right now. Those guys are there on expired terms. We need to get rid of them and bring fresh, innovative minds in there. Secondly, there's too many people who has retired from the government system and went back into public office and is receiving 2 salaries from the same retirement system. We need to do away with that. You know, there's a lot of different things that are taking place within the GRS right now, like all of these different loans, like the Carambola loan that we see now that has deflunked. And when I came out with the information on this, everybody was, oh, you're talking foolishness. But now it has set in and reality is there. We now own Carambola at what? A $15 million cost? Now we're stuck with something that we have to deal with. You know, those are the problems in GRS.
Thank you very much. Mr. Harrigan?
Well, again, in my platform, I said we should put legislation and stop the GRS as being a lending institution and be more of an investment, as it was purported, as it was established to be. Again, the investment with the Carambola, we didn't invest, we loaned them money. We didn't assess the property properly, so we are now stuck with this hotel over there. We need to restructure the age as to how many years one should work before going on the system. It needs to be expanded. It might seem sort of self-serving because I'm already on the system, but going forward, if we're going to have it, because the last report, we're down to 9 years of solvency. That's just around the corner. So we got to be very, very careful in how we go about addressing this situation, because my understanding is GRS puts about $9 million in this community every 2 weeks. And without it, it's not just the retirees, it's the entire community that's going to suffer. So another man-made disaster coming our way. Elect me, and I'm going to address that along with my colleagues.
Thank you very much. Ms. Sadler?
Okay. I honestly believe that the first thing we have to do is to keep government from touching GRS money, and I mean our lawmakers. The GRS money belongs to the employees that put their money in, not the government. And the government is the one that has GRS in the funk that it is right now, because throughout the years, they were not putting in their rightful share. I also believe that for us to get GRS off the ground and with the unfunded liability, we must make GRS put investment within our community. And I believe one of the best things GRS could do right now is to open up a supermarket. We need to do something that is going to make the people that put money in GRS all the time decide that it's their money and they're going to shop in their own supermarket. And we will make money. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Candidate Gums?
We have to address the unfunded liability, and we have to stop increasing it by making certain rules and laws and regulations that just add on and add on to this unfunded liability that eventually is going to cause the system to crash. They're supposed to have been putting in a Tier 2 part in the retirement code. That's going to have to be implemented. No one wants to receive less. No one wants to have to be the one that's going to have to take the burden. But at some point, we're going to have to say, we're going to have to change the way we conduct our business. And we have to say, based on what we have now, we can no longer move forward like how we are doing. We're going to have to also spread out the amount of years that's going to be based on your annuity. Because right now, if you work 3 years at a high salary, that's what they're going to base it on, or the last 5 years. But you've been making, maybe for the last 15 years, a lower salary. So all these things have to be looked at, and we have to make tough decisions.
Thank you very much. Candidate Milliner Emanuel.
A few things. First of all, if you're not familiar with how to loan money and how to make money, and when you loan money, you need to stop doing it. So the board needs to stop doing things that they don't understand. Early retirement is something else we need to look at. You let people retire early, they start pulling out of the system. They're no longer paying into the system. So then that's a drain. It takes 3 current employees to support 1 retiree. Act 6905, that needs to be looked at. It's a very generous package for former legislators. It needs to be changed. We have to look at that. If we're in a crisis, we're all in a crisis. If the ship is sinking, we all rise or fall as one. Not some going to rise and some going to fall. So we need to look at those things and start from there and change the things there.
Thank you very much. Candidate Bernier Sr.
I'm so proud of my colleagues. They all hit on everything that needs to be said. But in 2006, we offered a pension obligation bond to GRS for $600 million. It was turned down by this present administration. Right. The funds were in the CD at Finance Department. The key factor with GRS, I offered them 2 years ago $1 to assist them as a financial advisor to get them back on track. You see, they're spending $200 million a year. I mean, they're spending $200 million a year, and they're only collecting $100 million. So my good colleague Justin is right. In 9 years, they will be out. So this system needs to be looked at, and the term has to be extended with the new tiers. And it needs someone that understands economics. And the problem you have is our leadership at the top and at GRS needs to come with reality. And what has to be done is someone that knows how to readjust. And the properties that we have in the Virgin Islands that are very highly valued, the old district court next to Little Switzerland, we can transfer that for $1. In 10 years, GRS would have about $1 billion with all the government properties sitting down here, and the people will finally own property. That's where we need to go.
Thank you very much. Time. We're out of time. We want to thank each candidate for presenting their selves to our listening audience, our viewing audience, and we're going to give each one of you a 2-minute wrap-up, starting with our first candidate, Cecilia Milliner Emanuel.
Well, I just want to say thank you to WSTA, the panelists, the aspirants, and of course, you, the people of the Virgin Islands that are listening to these panels. Take your notes, ask your questions, do your due diligence, and most importantly, cast your vote on November 6th. I am Cecilia Milliner Emanuel, number 31 on your ballot. Visit us at BeTheChangeVI.com, whether it's on Twitter, on Facebook, or on our website. It is time, Virgin Islands. It is time to stand up, to step up, and to own up for our futures. Be the change, Virgin Islands. We are the change we have been waiting for. I'm Cecilia Milliner Emanuel, number 31 on your ballot.
Thank you very much, candidate Joseph Gums.
Yes, I'm Joseph Wojo Gums, number 28, and I would like to thank you and to let you know I appreciate the opportunity to come here and be able to participate in this discussion and to give the people out there the opportunity to hear our views. My slogan is "Your Voice Matters," and I've been listening to the community. I know they're upset in regards to the rising cost of health care that we didn't get an opportunity to also touch on, along with crime, along with the economy, along with education. All these things are important, but to me, the only way we're going to resolve this is through public and private working together, cooperating, looking to the future and working together. That's the only way it's going to be done. The government does not have the money to do all what needs to be done at this time. We're going to have to work together with business. Business is not our enemy. Business, big business, little business, whatever business is our friends. The small business grows the economy, and the big business also puts in money and gives opportunity, whether in job training and work advancements. We have to look forward to working together jointly in order to move these islands forward, because without working together, we definitely will fall apart. So I'm looking forward to working with everyone here and also with the community, because the partnership between the community, its leaders, is a must in order to get the best interests of our people served. So again, I'd like to remind you, vote Joseph Wojo Gums, number 28 on your ballot, and I remember that your voice does matter.
Thank you very much. Candidate Shirley Sadler.
Thank you. Once again, I am Shirley M. Sadler, a big woman for a big job. I thank everyone for this opportunity. I thank WSTA and all its sponsors. And I thank you again, the listening audience, and all of you who are viewing this. And I ask that you seriously take a good look at all of us. We gave you our views. We gave you answered questions. But now I'm going to ask you to ask yourself which among us is best to serve you. The question was asked, at what cost for each of us? And I'm going to ask you, the listening audience, at what cost for you? At what cost is it going to take for you to elect individual who is going to work for your vested interests, for you and your children and their children to come? We, as a people, must stand up now and decide here and now that it is our turn. Nobody else's but ours. And we can take back this Virgin Islands by electing the right people on November 6th. I ask you to give Shirley M. Sadler, a big woman for a big job, a chance to serve you, the people, serve you with dignity, serve you with respect, but most of all, without corruption. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Candidate Lawrence Olive.
Yes, once again, thank WSTA and the panel for the great questions that you all brought forward. My name is Lawrence Rican Olive. I'm number 26 on the ballot. I'm asking you to go out on November 6th and vote number 26. We have brought the message. We're coming with the solutions. And for truth and justice, you all have one thing to do. That's to believe in Olive. That's all we're not, we're out here to do. We're coming to bring you the truth and justice, and we're not going to be playing games out here. So we're not here to talk too much. We're here to deal with the problems and come with the solutions for the people of these Virgin Islands. You are hiring me, I will be your employee, and I will do the job that you want me to do, to bring truth and justice back to this territory and weed out the corruption that is taking place within this territory. So again, number 26 is my number, Lawrence Rican Olive. Believe in Olive, November 6th, vote number 26. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Candidate Justin Harrigan.
Good morning again, and thank you very much, WSTA, the sponsors, the panel, which I overlooked at my introduction, and my colleagues here at this forum. My name is Justin Harrigan Sr. I ran 12 years ago. On my platform, we needed cardiac center, we needed a cancer center, we needed mandatory insurance on vehicles, we needed to raise the tax on the cruise ship tax, on the head tax on the cruise ship passengers, we needed to change plastic bags and go to biodegradable material. Nobody studied me. Here we are, 12 years later. All those things are now law. They're now here in the community. That is why I say, just in time, this time, let us save the man-made catastrophes we are facing. Please elect me to be one of your representatives. I feel I am qualified, I'm experienced. I will represent you well. I will be an advocate for my veterans, as I did when I was the Director of Veteran Affairs. I am now myself a senior citizen, so you are part of my interest. I'm also concerned and worried about the youth of this territory. I will address them through my educational platform. Again, thank you very much for listening to this program. I hope you found us credible to serve you. Again, it's only 7 of us can be voted upon to be elected to serve you. I am asking you to please consider number 14, Justin Harrigan Sr., on the ballot, just in time, this time. And I say good luck to all of the fellow candidates sitting here next to me right now.
Thank you very much. Candidate Ken Bernier Sr.
Finally, I'm Ken Bernier, your independent Democrat for the 21st century. Again, I want to thank the panelists. I think we did a great job, and my colleagues. I want to let you know at some point in history, innovation, Crown Bay development, we got the cruise ships coming in. I played a major role. Yacht Haven Grand, Public Finance Authority loaned them $11 million. They put in $150 million. Red Hook Development Center, St. John at some point had a new facility, the Cancer Center, the Cardiac Center in St. Croix. This is the future. We have to open new pages and start getting this territory back on track. We have a waterfront development that should be a $50 million project. I would recommend that Mickey Harrison, that own Carnival Cruise Line, and Michelle Page put another $3 head tax and put the infrastructure. That'll be $30 million, and the government match $20 million. We should have the most beautiful waterfront like Monaco. It's time that we stand up and stop laying down like we don't know who we are. And the same thing for St. Croix with economic development. Like they said, for who the bell toll, it toll of thee. And it's time that we stand up as a people and stop letting outsourcing and start with our insourcing. And that's the problem with our Virgin Islands now. I want to say to you, I'm number 36, and on election day, November 6th, I hope independents, Democrats, Republican, ICM, this is the guy. With my colleagues here, we can take care of the Virgin Islands and get it to the pride of the 60s. We need to get back home. And that's the journey for me, being able to serve, to get us back home for our children's children. Thank you.
We want to thank each and every one of you, all the candidates. We wish you much success in your continuing campaigning. And if elected, we're going to hold your foot to the fire. We want to thank our great panelists, Senator Liston Davis. Let's give him a round of applause. Professor Dr. Leonard Richardson. Let's give him a round of applause. And former Senate President from St. John, Senator at Large, Senator Rocky Library. Looking forward to tomorrow. Again, we'll be doing this again with candidates from the St. Thomas St. John District. All candidates have been invited. It's a presentation by WSTA and PEO Production. You just pay for a chair and come on down and sit down. Some candidates you'll see here maybe twice. They bought 2 chairs. We want to thank our super sponsors. They include the great production work of MDM Inc. We got to thank them greatly. We also got to thank Innovative, Color Max, Furniture Plus, IQ Events, T's Restaurant, MDM Inc. we mentioned. We also got Choice Wireless, John's Auto Center, Global Training, Enterprise, Jimmy's and Sons. We also want to thank the people behind the scenes, our timekeeper and the volunteers. Again, tomorrow's schedule, as we get started at 10 o'clock straight up, we will have gracing us here 5 candidates. 1 chair is available. Tomorrow we'll be speaking in the first segment from 10 to 12. We'll have Kent Bernier Sr., Clarence Payne, Horace Brooks, Clifford Graham, and Marvin Blyden. In the second round, later on, from 12:30 to 2:30, Senator Jeanette Millen Young, Myron Jackson, Stephen Smokey Fred, Attorney Treganza Roach, Senator Sean Michael Malone, and Donald Coles. Again, we want to thank each and every one of you for participating, listening, viewing. Until tomorrow, have a great day. Thanks, everybody.
PEO Production, in conjunction with WSTA Radio, presents
Decision 2012. Live video and live radio on WSTA Radio. You don't miss the candidates as they debate the issues live on radio and on the internet. Broadcast live on WSTA Radio October 9th, 10th, and 11th, beginning at 10 a.m. to 12 noon and from 12:30 until 2 p.m. Originating from the Wynwood Passage Hotel, hear the candidates' views that are running for the office of Delegate to Congress. Delegate Donna Christensen, Norma Picard Samuel, Warren Mosler, and Harlan Redfield. Senator at-large candidates, Senator Craig Baxter and Wilmer Monsanto.
Senatorial candidates, Shirley Sadler, Cecilia Emanuel, Kent Bernier, Clarence Payne, Horace T. Brooks, Clifford Graham, Jeanette Millen Young, Myron Jackson, Stephen Smokey Fred, Paul Alexander, Alma Francis Heiliger, Sean Georges, Alvin Foy Sr.,